Welcome to Lift, a leadership podcast where we will learn, inspire, and focus together. I'm Carl Warren from Beyond Behaviour. In each episode, we will explore how to learn with purpose, inspire those around us, focus on what matters, and build strong communities together. You will gain insights that are practical and relevant for your own leadership journey. Welcome, lifters. I would like to introduce Richard, a colleague that I've worked with for 20 years or more, a very experienced leader. Sorry to sort of bring up the number of years, Richard.
I like experience.
Yeah, that's
not
right.
Old.
Yeah, no, not old. But obviously very, wise. And what I would like to do is draw on his experience in terms of the next couple of conversations we have. It's great to have you here, Richard. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Carl. I mean, I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah.
Over many years, we've had so many conversations with each other about leadership, and for me, I have always, taken the idea of leadership as a privilege, and I've listened to so many podcasts myself, and for you to do one, it's fantastic. I mean this. I've worked with you for a long time, and you've got a lot to bring to the conversation. So for us to just have this conversation is going to be fun.
It is. It's going to be great.
And I hope it helps your listeners. I really do.
Yeah, so do I. And I think having you here with your experience in a number of different organisations, different size organisations, working in a very big bureaucracy and being skillful and understanding how to manage lots of people, that's really what I want us to be able to share. And your experience in that, and some of the things that we've sort of like talked about in the past where we've gone, God, this will be good for other people to hear. So that's really what this is about. Making it practical for people, giving them stuff that they can actually apply in their own workplace. As you know, both of us like practical people anyway. So it's about bringing that to the lifters out there and helping them come along for the ride and hopefully tap into what you've got. So what sort of places have you worked? What sort of...
Oh, wow. Well, I guess I've been in leadership. Well, I mean, leadership for my whole career, really, when I think about it, in various forms. But probably 22 years, Carl, as a formal leader, overseeing a number of educational environments. 22 years, as I said, and some of them with smaller staff, medium-sized staff, and up to 100 people in the organisation. And it's just amazing. I love it. But challenging. Really challenging. And I think we'll get to that probably too.
We will. We'll sort of talk about how you face the challenges and how you sort of like embrace them even and see them as, like you said, it's a privilege to be able to do some of this stuff. When we first sort of started working together, Richard was leading a really complex, really complex place, and with some people that had really complex needs and stuff. And so, that had challenges, and you were new.
I was
as a leader.
Getting to know people, taking the time to learn things. I mean, I know this podcast, and you'll talk about what the theme is, but there are so many nuances to leadership around learning yourself.
Correct.
Learning other people, where you fit in the organisation, what you can bring to it. And I think one of the big things for me as a leader, no matter how long you've been a leader, is never stop learning.
Absolutely.
Never stop asking questions.
Yeah.
And when you do it, take the ego out of the room.
And I think like that sort of leads back into where I want to go with the topic, right? About knowing and understanding how you make policies work for you. People sometimes think policy is like a dirty word, and it goes, I hate this policy or I hate that policy, or they see it like it's going to work against them. As a leader, you've got to actually embrace and understand policies that apply to you and your organisation. And every organisation's got them, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone does. Yeah. For me, not knowing policy, which comes back to the learning thing in a second, but not knowing a policy is like playing a game without knowing the rules. We've all got to know the rules, and to some extent, you've got to understand how they work for you, and sometimes how you work with them, or not knowing the road rules. If we don't know the road rules, how are we ever going to be safe? So it's that sort of stuff. As a leader, to go back to your learning point, we've got to learn them.
You have to, and you need to acknowledge to self that I don't know 'em.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many policies within many organisations
Yeah.
that are your friend.
Well, that's,
And they're there to protect you. They're there to
Absolutely.
help you to drive conversation. They're there to lean on. But there's a nuance then around where you know, how you use the policy for various situations. I mean, it could be around child protection. It could be around conflict resolution.
yeah.
It could be around just any policy within the school,
Yeah.
or organisation that you're in. I've got a mate who runs an organisation with tradies,
Yeah.
100 people in his business, and he's constantly learning policy. And
Absolutely.
it helps him. So it doesn't matter where you work.
No, and you have to have them because it does a couple of things. It means that when you start making decisions and choosing to do things, firstly, it's got to fit within legislation.
Yeah.
There's laws that apply, work health and safety. There's
That's
laws
another-
there's laws that apply. I mean, that would apply to your trading, mate. There's laws that apply to these sorts of things that you've got to be aware of, no matter what you're doing, and they apply to all of us. There's behavioural codes of conduct, you know, conflict resolution or whatever that we've all got to apply, and we've got to understand how they work for us. As leaders, they're empowering. Knowledge is empowering, like learning, as you said, is always empowering. And so we've got to actually embrace that rather than be afraid of it. And otherwise, we disempower ourselves. And for me, that's where I really think this has got to sort of go.
I think too, Carl, I think it also it keeps you accountable
Yes.
and responsible for the people you work with, the people you serve, that you're not going rogue.
No.
And that there's some accountability and responsibility for you as a leader in terms of protecting others.
And I hope that the people that I lead understand policy just as much as I do. Right? In a weird way, it makes us all accountable for stuff. And it's never personal. Policies weren't written for or against a person. They were written about how we've all got to interact and behave. Right? What we've all got to go and do. So if I'm following policy, then it's not a personal thing. Right? It's an expectation for how I've got to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's definitely not. You've got to make it not personal.
Absolutely not personal. And if you're aware, then you've got to be aware of the policy. Then sometimes even in a hard conversation or a difficult decision, to then go, I need to be aware of what applies to this in terms of the behaviour that I'm expecting or what I want to have happen. To then dig into that policy, be prepared and know it well enough that I'm totally trusting my judgment on this. It's not personal. I'm following the rules, literally the rules of the game.
Yep.
Right.
And I guess we could, when you're looking at policy, and if it's a difficult conversation you have to have, and it's a challenging conversation you have to have, you've got policy there to protect you. You've
Yes.
got policy to utilise in the background.
Yep.
So, I'll give the example, when I'm having a conversation, I'm not going to quote the policy
No, that would
during
be
the conversation.
preferably not. That would be weird, right?
It would be weird, right? But I've been involved in conversations where people do that.
Yeah.
You're not following this. You're not following 1.2, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
But I think what it is, and I think this is the one of the keys too about effective leadership is the person you're speaking to might go, well, what you're talking about here actually doesn't meet policy. What you're saying here sits outside the policy framework you're talking about, conflict resolution or whatever. It is. You've got to be strong enough and have the will to say, I'm going to take that on notice.
Yep.
I'm going to go away and look at that and think about what you've just said, and I'll come back to you on that.
Yep.
You don't have to have all the answers.
No, you don't. And people can, and often do, threaten you with policy.
Absolutely, they come prepared.
Yeah, well, they've come in and said, oh, this is against the anti-discrimination, or this is against this, or this is against that. And they'll threaten you with that. Well, my advice would be, do your preparation. And put it on notice and say, yep, I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm going to go away and do my research. Right? Because I need to be, and then we're coming back, because I need to be empowered. It's important that, in fact, that as leaders, we do that for ourselves.
The key though, Carl, I think is knowing the policy.
Yep.
You've got to go and look for it. You've
Yeah.
got to know you've got to research that as a leader. You have to make sure that you're not making this stuff up.
Nope.
It's dangerous.
Very.
So if you don't know it, you know, I would really encourage listeners in leadership roles to go away and begin over a period of time to look into what your organisation's policies are, particularly for the ones that you use a lot.
Yeah. So I would start with work health and safety.
Yeah.
I would always start with that. I would start with anything that's like a code of conduct or behaviour.
Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution,
yeah.
like how people are supposed to interact with each other. They're the two, they're really important. Things like how you are expected to perhaps get a promotion or whatever, have that sort of like performance type conversation with people.
Yep.
There's policies on all of that stuff because they're written by organisations that don't want to get sued.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to understand and follow them. I want to be able to actually, you know, work with them and then have a conversation that I feel comfortable having. I've got to go and find them. I've got to Google them. I've got to ask my own employer or whoever, ask my line manager what applies here in this type of area, rather than just, you know, either making it up myself, even worse.
That's dangerous.
Very dangerous,
Yeah.
or feeling that, you know, other people have got more knowledge than me, right?
And I think too, I guess we're not getting into specific policies or specific conversations, but if you feel yourself as the leader in the moment, having a conversation with someone and you can feel it not going well,
Yeah.
and you can feel that I don't really know the policy that well,
Yep.
and they're saying something to me, that's where you need to start to wrap it up and start to say, look, I think this, and there's some elements here we need to come back to. Let's come back to this in a week's time. Let's both think about what we've talked about, because it's not a rush to have an outcome.
No.
I mean, sometimes it is. There's sometimes we need to get an outcome here and there that's unsafe for people or whatever.
Sure.
But most conversations
And actually,
don't need to be solved.
and I would rather slow it down.
Yeah.
And as a leader, it's important. Then I go, okay, this is feeling a bit unsure for me. I'm not feeling as comfortable. I don't understand how it all works. I'm not trusting my own knowledge in a weird way. Well, rather than continuing the conversation, like you're saying, I'm going to slow it all down.
Yeah.
I might even, you know, like you say, put it on notice. I want to revisit this. I think as leaders, sometimes we think we need to know them all. Like sometimes we think,
That's true.
sometimes you go, oh, far out.
Leader has to be the bearer of all knowledge.
No,
Yeah.
right? You need to know where to find them.
Sure. Yeah.
I think how many policies do you reckon there are in your organisation?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many.
There's probably a policies on policies.
You know, and you would go away and
Right.
you would look into it. And if you're not sure, you ring up whoever can help you in the organisation
Right.
to help me through this.
Yeah.
Can I share a funny story with you?
Sure. Good one.
And share it with your listeners. And it's a conversation I had many years ago.
Yeah.
Let's just say the person's name was Bob.
Yep. Good.
Don't know where I got Bob from, but we'll use Bob. Anyway, the conversation was, people came to me,
Yeah.
people within my organisation, workers who
Yep.
were working with this person,
Bob.
and Bob,
Yeah.
and they were saying Bob is increasingly getting to work late.
Okay.
And we need to be able to talk to Bob and draw on Bob's expertise.
So Bob mattered.
Bob mattered to the organisation.
Okay.
Bob really mattered to the organisation. Bob
Yeah.
was important to the organisation. But Bob wasn't there for the organisation increasingly. And so, and I'm sharing this because leadership there's serious elements to it. There's, as I said, it's a privilege. But it's fun as well.
Yeah.
And things come from left field, right?
Perhaps if Bob mattered less, people would have cared less.
Correct, that's right. But Bob, I had to talk to Bob.
Right.
Because Bob was getting to work late,
Okay.
increasingly. And so I had to say, right, well, this is important for Bob, for the organisation.
Yeah.
I can't let it keep going.
Can I ask you a question about that? So how are other people feeling about Bob?
Well, they really respected Bob. They
Right.
really wanted to talk to Bob about some various things that they needed to get
Yeah.
through for what they needed. But they just... He was important to the organisation.
Right. So it wasn't that they were resentful so much
No.
of Bob or anything else. It was more actually we need Bob. He's not here, and we really need him. We need to rely on him more. He needs to
Absolutely.
become more reliable.
Yeah,
Okay.
really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it wasn't they felt it wasn't good for culture because one rule for one and not for others, right?
Sure.
So
but again, why we have policies, right?
Why we have
you
a
can't,
policy. Right?
Some people can't follow them and other people, right?
So I knew the policy. I mean, the part of the policy is you've got to be at work on time. I think every organisation
Pretty sure
probably
has an expectation about that.
That they're there. But anyway, I spoke to Bob about this, and I started with it was I knew, for me it was not a challenging conversation, but I knew for Bob it was going to be.
Sure.
Because we had to bring up this difficulty, right? And so I said to so I used the Simon Sinek.
Of course you did.
I used Simon Sinek's way of starting a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
That is, Bob, we're about to have a challenging conversation
Sure.
about something that needs to be talked about. I don't really want to have it. I'm
No.
not in this job to have difficult conversations.
No.
I don't want to do it.
No.
But we have to have it for you, for the organisation, and to make this place effective.
Bob's behaviour is requiring it.
Correct,
Yeah,
right?
Bob's behaviour.
So I could see Bob
Yep.
get a bit nervous. And so I said, Bob, we're going to have it, and I want it to end well, and I want it to have a really good outcome, positive outcome for you, for the organisation, everyone. I said, Bob, and I'm sharing this one because it was it came from left field. Bob, you're getting to work late quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me why?
Sure.
Is there anything we can do as an organisation? Is there
Family
anything-
problem, transport,
Right.
who
Yeah.
knows?
The policy said, how do we help you?
Okay,
In terms
so
of-
again, so part of the policy for you is actually about addressing Bob's problem
Absolutely.
rather than just getting Bob in trouble.
Yep.
Right?
That's what it
That's
was.
really important, right?
Yep.
So again, it's not
Care,
actually
compassion for
correct. That's where the policy is coming from, and
Yep.
it's not just smacking him with a stick.
No,
right?
no, because that's not the way to go.
Correct. So
Right.
that's
So-
that's your understanding and application of the policy, Richard. So that's the caring part of
Yeah.
that, right?
I knew the policy. I knew where I could go with it.
Mm.
But there's a nuance in every leader's has their own personality, has their own style, has their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew what the policy was, but I knew, I could utilise ways in which I've dealt with things in the past to
Yeah.
help a situation. Anyway, can I tell you that?
Bob-
Can I tell you
Bob's
reason? Bob's reason for being late was, and he said this to me,
Uh-huh.
and I had to keep, as a leader, sometimes you've got to keep many things internally. He said, Richard, I'm going to be really honest with you. I said, please do.
What
That would be a
was
good
his-
start. He said, Richard, I'm not a morning person.
So
That was it. I'm just not a morning person.
okay.
And I just, internally, I was going,
So,
neither am I.
well, who is?
And who is?
What's the difference?
So but we had to work through that,
Did you?
and we did.
Okay.
And because I used
What was the
the
solution?
value,
Right.
his value to the organisation,
Okay.
and how people were relying on him.
Okay.
And could we work towards you being here on time because of your value?
Because actually of how important Bob is. And you don't want to lose. See, that's the point, right? You can't afford to lose your Bobs of the world who you really need. But actually Bob needs to, if he understands his own importance, he's more likely to come on board.
Yeah.
Right? But it's how you apply the policy then.
Yep.
It's trusting and understanding the policy, right? I know what it is. I know what it's telling me to do. How I do that now, coming from a place of confidence and trust in the policy framework. It's not personal. If Bob had turned around and said, "How dare you ask me that sort of stuff?" You can say, "Hang on, Bob, mate. It's not me doing it. We've all got a time. We've got to be at work."
Correct. Well,
Right.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Because you work with a lot of different people,
I do.
where do you think? What are the policies that they aren't utilising correctly for their own leadership that you see?
I think as a leader, there are a couple of things that absolutely apply to anyone. The first one for me is work health and safety.
Okay.
Everyone has to have a safe workplace. And when you look at how we interact with people, when we look at whatever we do when we're working with humans, psychological safety, all of these things really, really matter. So you've got to understand that. So other things like conflict resolution, dispute resolution, all of those things come out of actually providing safe workplaces for people. If you think about what underpins all of that, how you interact. And one of the most empowering things that I ever did was understand that, was about making sure I truly understood what that meant for me personally, what it meant as a leader. It's also a bit what kept me awake at night, Richard, when I was leading, because there were fundamental issues in that in terms of who I was working with about providing safety for people. But as a leader, that's one of those things you've got to matter. And then for me, it's again about how and what our rules are for how we're supposed to interact with each other, right? In most cases, it's almost like it makes sense about just having some compassion with people, but it still comes down to how you listen to the other person, how you actually explore it. And that for me then is like this codes of conduct or whatever they are. But really, again, that's coming from people need to be safe at work, psychologically and emotionally safe at work. And it's not personal. It's not at all. It's all about these are our rules. And it comes out of state legislation, so no one can go around it.
No.
So
It's the how you go about it, isn't it?
it's exactly right. And each organisation has its own version of the how to some extent. So, but it's all coming from the same place. And there are, discrimination laws, all that sort of stuff. But they're still coming from the point of view that we all fundamentally have the right to be at work, to do what we've got to do it in the way we're being asked to do, and then go home safely.
Yeah.
Whether you're working as a crane operator, a school teacher, anything, a police officer, it doesn't matter. They're the things that apply. And then we've all got to have rules and about how we work with our people.
And if anything gets in the way of that, you've got to address it.
Correct. And in fact, it's the one non-negotiable. So in my experience, again, I worked in pretty difficult places. The thing that was never negotiable was work health and safety. You could never negotiate on that. So when we're talking about being at work on time, and things like then signing in, that's work health and safety.
Yeah.
So you're signing in at a set time so that people know you're there. So that if something goes wrong, they know you're there.
Yeah.
Or not there, depending on what's happening, right?
And that's keeping people safe.
Correct. And that's what's driving it all. It's not personal to check up on people or micromanage or any of that stuff. And that's what I learnt, Richard. And as a person, like I became when I was back in the day when I was at school, I liked playing rugby union, right? And as you know, right? And so
I don't reckon you'd be that good at it. Were you that good at it?
I was terrible at it.
Because I watched him move around there.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it. I was terrible. I was never picked for anything. I put my heart and soul into it, but I was never really any good, right?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, to be better at rugby union, I became a rugby union referee. Right? So I'm in year 9. I went far out. I want to really get really good at this game. I'm going to become a rugby union referee. That wasn't because I wanted to be that was because I wanted to know what the referee couldn't see when they were standing on the wrong side of the scrum. So therefore, what rules I could actually break.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So I've come
That's
from...
a good example.
So my personality is actually about pushing boundaries and pushing rules. What I learned as a leader is there are rules that you can't push.
Yeah.
You've got to know what those rules are, mate.
Yeah. I think that's the key, and that's coming back to leaders need to know their workplace policies.
You have to know.
There's so many of them.
Correct.
But you do need to start. And I'd say to the listeners, if that has not been an area that you've focused on as a leader, and you're a new leader even, start to learn the policies of your organisation.
They're the things that you've got to learn. One, like we go back to, you learn stuff about yourself, you learn things about other people and that sort of stuff. But you've got to know the rules of your own game. Right? You have to know this. And it doesn't mean that, they hamstring you, but they give you confidence to have a conversation. They give you trust that you're not making it personal. They help you see that. And it's really hard when you work, like you said, I've worked in lots of organisations, and there are plenty of people that I work with that don't trust policies.
Yeah.
Right? And I look at that and
I get that.
I totally do. But I look at that and I go, it's not the policy that's been at fault, it's actually the person who tried to apply them or didn't apply them. Right? We don't, for me, you don't blame the rules when a referee doesn't apply them. You actually blame the person who didn't apply them. But it's really hard to then go for people that have been in a culture where policies weren't followed.
Okay.
They won't trust them, Richard, as you know, right? And so when you then have to then lead or do whatever, you go, but why would I want to bother because people don't follow them anyway? It doesn't mean you shouldn't know them.
No.
Where's the accountability?
Yeah.
Right?
I would use the example too, Carl, of when you get up with a whole staff and you talk about something that we need to work on as an organisation. Now, you could use the strategy of just getting up in front of the whole staff of 100 as an example, and say something like, The policy says, now everyone, the policy says this, we're going to do this, and that's it.
Sure.
Not great for culture.
No.
You know, we need to make it more personalised, and we need to explain the why. Why is it we need to adhere to this policy that is protecting us all, but make it work for our environment?
And again, that is smart
to be more
leadership.
effective.
Smart leadership, Richard, if I can do that, right? If you can do that, which is what you do, if you actually can go, this is how I actually understand the policy and I'm going to nuance it enough and to combine it with the knowledge of my own organisation. So in your line of work, you actually have to, because if you have got your 100 staff, you have to then go, okay, this, and you're in a dynamic place where policies change quite a lot.
Yes,
happens,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So I have to combine what I know about my own organisation with what my employer is telling me is now the new policy or approach or whatever, the new policy. How do I bring these two things together? How do you do that, boss? Because I have seen you do it. I mean, you know, number of times.
You've got to know your staff.
Yep.
I mean, I think one of the things for me is, again, knowing your policies, knowing what protects you as a leader, knowing what protects your staff, knowing what protects, you know, in the work that I work in, your school community, right? You have to know your people, and you have to know the variances and differences with the people, and how you actually how you instill policy within your school, but make it so that we own it together and make it more contextual. Because there are individual organisations that are small and they'll have a policy that just relates to them. You'll have large organisations that have a policy that needs to be nuanced for every individual area that you work in, right? So know your place, know what it's going to help be helpful.
One of the things that I've seen you do remarkably well is actually stand in front of, you know, your 100 staff and actually say, look, I don't know. This is what we're being told, but we're going to work it out together. These are the things that we're going to work. These are the non-negotiables that I can see in what we're being told, and these are the things that we can now sort of like nuance, as you say, to then work it around. And then everyone then is involved in that process, right? Literally. Literally. Let's see it and say we might even have to get, you know, people in to help guide us in that. You know, people from their own staff in there to give us some guidance or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that people, it's not a top-down authoritarian approach.
No.
It's much more collegial, even in terms of how the policy might be top-down, but how we're going to approach it and problem solve it is not. Because it's collegial, but I'm guessing then that you being able to, people following that policy, that they've then been involved in you sort of like nuancing and massaging, they're more likely to follow it as opposed to resist it. You'd have less hard conversations.
I think the how, right?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about a new policy,
Yes.
that you're learning yourself. So my experience is with every new policy, there's a policy behind it.
Yep.
There's some new aspects to it, right? I think you made a really good point, and that is to say to the room, I'm not quite sure about this yet, and we need to work together on this.
Correct.
Right? We need to take our time, and I think a good strategy to do that I've done in the past, and it's worked really well, and I think you could do this in any organisation. I really believe this, is that when you've got a problem, you've got an issue you need to resolve as a whole staff, you're not quite sure of the resolution yourself, you've got ideas as one person out of 100,
Sure.
is you have what's called a think tank.
Yep.
And you invite staff and you say to staff, look, you know, you're asking some great questions. Can we get together at another time? Those who are interested. Not mandatory.
No way.
It's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Usually the 4 or 5 people put their hand up, said, what's this about? Yep.
Yeah. And then they're there. Right. And I always feel that builds over time. And if and then you can, when you start to have these opportunities for people to have a say, that's where you get great things happening in your organisation.
Absolutely.
Because people feel empowered.
Correct. And as a leader, you go, okay, it gives you because the people that have put their hand up, they're obviously interested in it, right? That is an issue for them that they want to be thinking about, whatever it is. And quite rightly, I want them involved. It helps the other people in the room feel that they've got a voice or an ally or an advocate, and whatever is then going on isn't isn't coming from somewhere else.
Correct.
It's coming from your peers or your colleagues. From a leadership perspective, things that you implement then just become so much smoother,
They do.
right?
And what happens too is when they start to understand the why,
Yep.
and this is how we're going to work together. Because at the end of the day, Carl, for your listeners, I mean, the leader has to make the ultimate
Absolutely
decision.
right. And the
You
buck
can't
will
get
rest
away
on
from
you.
it.
If
You
it's
can't
not being
get away.
followed, it will rest on you, right?
Can't
The
get away
policy is
from
not
it.
being followed. Yeah.
But you've got good people in your organisation. Why wouldn't you draw on that expertise? And they're seeing it from a different perspective than you are.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
And their questions are coming from the coalface. The questions are coming from the ground. So the people that are then asking about how does this apply to me are people that are going to apply it in their work right now, tomorrow. The more I can get those things addressed, the easier it is for everyone. Plus, when you start then explaining the why to other people, it's not your voice all the time.
No.
It's their colleague's voice. It's their peer's voice. It's
That's
coming
the power.
Totally right.
In the staff room, it's in the meeting room, it's in the work room, the lunch room, whatever you want to call it.
And again, so when you're leading that and your policy engagement then is becoming far more organic, right? It's far more like people are working it out for themselves. It's very nuanced. Then in fact, the conversations you have aren't. It's a bit more like your Bob conversation. It's more about, mate, I want you to understand how important you are, as opposed to just smacking him with a stick because he's late to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Right.
and you asked me at the beginning about how much experience I have had in leadership. Many years
Many years.
and many mistakes, right? But I do know this:
Yeah.
when you engage people, when you ask for their feedback, when you ask for their viewpoint, with this new policy we're being asked to implement this new policy, whatever it is, safety,
Yep.
right?
Whatever it is.
Let's get together and work out how can we make this so it's safe for everyone within our organisation.
Correct.
And that's really important.
Absolutely.
And from my experience over the years, I've had the best ideas from the people within the organisation.
Yeah, and so what they're then seeing then, because of your leadership, is the fact that the policy is working for them, right? They're part of making that happen, right? So it is about slowing down, making sure you're very aware, and then probably it's about then bringing people on board with you in terms of how we're now going to work on this. I think that it's that process of being confident enough as a leader to say, I don't know, to slow down and then ask yourself questions about it, be open to their questions, and apply a practical answer is the key.
And as Brené Brown says, Carl, feedback is a gift.
Absolutely, my
It's
friend.
always a gift. And I hope it helps.
So do I.
I really do.
Yeah.
I'm loving having a conversation.
I'd just like to thank you very much for being here, because we've wanted to do this for ages, and I hope it's been really helpful. The key takeaways for us as leaders, for you lifters out there, is be really familiar with the policies that apply. Don't sit back passively. Get in there and look for them. Ask questions, and enjoy the pleasure of being and the gift of being a leader for other people. Make the policies your friend, please.
It's an absolute privilege.
Thank
to be
you.
a leader.
It is.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Richard.
Appreciate it.